Hello, welcome back to another breaking news update. My name is Jimmy Boyd, and you were watching Boyd News. I want to thank you so much for tuning in today. I've got some big news coming out regarding Donald Trump, and I want to share an update for you in regards to him potentially ending the war with Ukraine. We've talked a lot about this recently. I just did a video just in the last week or two where he was speaking at a rally, and he said during this rally that he would end this war in Ukraine as president elect. Okay, we all know that he's running for president again this year up against Joe Biden, the current president of the United States, and we'll see if Donald Trump wins in November of this year. But we're expecting that if he does win, he's come out many times and said that he would end this war in Ukraine. He even said he would end it as president elect. Before he even actually becomes president and inaugurated, that he would end this war. So we're all kind of wondering, okay, what would be the strategy that Trump would use to end this war? And probably one of the big ones would be to cut off funding to Ukraine, or at least threaten to cut off funding to Ukraine. He's also come out and said that as well, that we need to stop sending money to Ukraine. We're wasting all kinds of billions of dollars, tens of billions, hundreds of billions, whatever, going to Ukraine. And this war is just dragging on for several years now. And I'm sure most of us are fed up with it and ready to see an ending to this, and hopefully a peaceful ending, right? So we had two key advisors to Donald Trump. Okay, these were his chiefs of staff in Trump's National Security Council during his presidency between 2017 and 2021. So they were recently in an interview discussing a plan that they presented to Donald Trump. So this plan, it's had several things to it, several parts. So one of them is that they'll tell Ukraine that they'll only get more U.S. weapons if they enter peace talks. So if they do not agree to enter peace talks with Russia, they will get no more funding from the United States. Another part of it is the United States would, at the same time, they'd tell Russia that any refusal to negotiate would result in increased U.S. support for Ukraine. So basically, what they do is give even more weaponry to Ukraine and provide them everything necessary to destroy the Russian army. Basically, is what we're hearing. So this is obviously it kind of makes sense to me. This plan looks like right up Trump's alley, like something like he might plan to do. But apparently, this was presented to him by two of his previous advisors, and I'm not assuming that he agreed to all of it. But he did agree to some of it, and he responded favorably, apparently, to this plan. So this is very big news, and I want to talk some more about this today because this could be the plan, or at least part of the plan, to end the war in Ukraine. And I'm sure, again, most of us probably want to see this war end. So let's go ahead and find out some more about this. I've got this report here on Reuters, says exclusive. Trump handed plan to halt U.S. military aid to Kyiv unless it talks peace with Moscow. So this just came out today. Two key advisors to Donald Trump have presented him with a plan to end Russia's war in Ukraine if he wins the November 5th presidential election. That involves telling Ukraine it will only get more U.S. weapons if it enters peace talks. United States would at the same time warn Moscow that any refusal to negotiate would result in increased U.S. support for Ukraine. Retired Lieutenant General Keith Kellogg, one of Trump's national security advisors, said in an interview. Under the plan drawn up by Kellogg and Fred Fleets, who both served as chiefs of staff in Trump's National Security Council during his 2017 to 2021 presidency, there would be a ceasefire based on prevailing battle lines during peace talks. So that's a big part of it here as well. Okay, that there'd be a ceasefire based on prevailing battle lines. So from what I understand with this is that there'd be a ceasefire and they would just draw the lines where the battle lines are currently at, okay? So I'm not sure if I'm understanding this right. If I'm not, please correct me down in the comment section. But from what it sounds like to me, that Ukraine would have to give up these territories that that's been taken from them, okay? So I would think like all the Donetsk region, Donbass, Luhansk, okay? All the eastern side of Ukraine, down in the Kherson region and Zaporizhia, and then also obviously Crimea, which was annexed in 2014, right? But I'm assuming that what we're seeing here is that this would be part of the plan, according to these two national security advisors, that they would have to give up this territory that's been taken from them, okay? They have presented their strategy to Trump, and the Republican presidential candidate responded favorably, Fleets added. I'm not claiming he agreed with it or agreed with every word of it, but we were pleased to get the feedback that we did. So apparently, Trump had responded pretty favorably towards this and positively, that this looks like an option that, and maybe it'll be modified. Maybe it won't go exactly this way. But again, I just don't see, when it comes to this peace proposal, I don't see Ukraine wanting to agree to this. But at the same time, if the U.S. threatens to cut off funding to Ukraine, how are they going to fight this war, right? They obviously can only fight this war if the United States continues to back them. So this could definitely force Ukraine to just kind of give up what they've lost in a way. And this may be the only thing that could happen, because I've thought about this as well. There's really no other way to come to an agreement here without kind of agreeing with what Vladimir Putin said recently with his proposal. He said that Ukraine would have to withdraw from the front line, which is on the eastern side of Ukraine, give up the territories that have already been taken, and then there'd be an immediate ceasefire. So it kind of goes in line with what Vladimir Putin's proposal was recently. So it says here, Trump spokesperson Stephen Chung said only statements made by Trump or authorized members of his campaign should be deemed official. The strategy outlined by Kellogg and Fleets is the most detailed plan yet by associates of Trump, who said he could quickly settle the war in Ukraine if he beats President Joe Biden in the November 5th election. Though he has not said how he would do that. The proposal would mark a big shift in the U.S. position on the war and would face opposition from European allies and within Trump's own Republican Party. The Kremlin said any peace plan proposed by a possible future Trump administration would have to reflect the reality on the ground, but the Russian President Vladimir Putin remained open to talks. The value of any plan lies in the nuances, and it's in taking into account the real state of affairs on the ground, Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov told Reuters. President Putin has repeatedly said that Russia has been and remains open to negotiations, taking into account the real state of affairs on the ground, he said. Ukrainian presidential advisor Mikhail Podolyak said on Tuesday that freezing hostilities at the prevailing front lines would be strange, given Russia had violated international law by invading Ukraine. See, that's what I mean. Is Ukraine's come out so many times and said, they want Russia to completely leave Ukraine, leave Crimea, leave all the areas that have been annexed by Russia previously. They want all of their land back, considering that they were invaded. Okay, that's what Ukraine comes out and says all the time. So I just don't see them completely agreeing to this, but it's funny that they kind of say it would be strange. Then they're saying, well, at the end of the day, do we really have a choice? Because if the U.S. cuts off funding to us, then we can't fight this war, obviously. So if we got to give up these territories and that's what we got to do, then we got to do what we got to do to survive as a country. And then that would also allow Ukraine to now start focusing on joining the EU and then eventually become a NATO member. But that was also something that Vladimir Putin came out and said, that Ukraine could no longer want to or no longer join NATO as part of this proposal from him as well. So I'm not sure how that would work out when it comes to Ukraine joining NATO, becoming the EU member and all that. That obviously will be a hurdle here when it comes to these peace talks. But strictly just drawing the lines where they're at, where the front line is at right now, and just kind of give up those territories to Russia, it makes sense that Ukraine may have to do this here, especially if the U.S. is considering cutting off funding. Ukraine has an absolutely clear understanding, and it is spelled out in the peace formula proposed by President Volodymyr Zelensky. It is clearly stated there, peace can only be fair, and peace can only be based on international law, he told Reuters. White House National Security Council said that the Biden administration would not force Ukraine into negotiations with Russia. So I'm sure right now Ukraine is probably hoping that that President or a former President Donald Trump does not win this year, because that would allow them to continue fighting this war and achieve ultimately, hopefully, if they do win, the outcome that they want, which is to push Russia completely out of Ukraine. They would have to obviously defeat their army, which who knows if that would ever happen. That remains to be seen. But that I'm sure that's a major hurdle for the Ukrainians right now. They probably want President Biden to win, and I think even Vladimir Putin on the Russian side, he's even come out and said that he would prefer President Biden because Biden is more old school. So it says here, President Biden believes that any decisions about negotiations are up to Ukraine, said NSC spokesperson Adrian Watson. So there's more information here talking about NATO membership and all that. If you guys want to read on this, I will cite it down below in the description for you of this video. But just wanted to talk about the bulk of this when it comes to Donald Trump and give you another update and let you know, what he may be planning here. Okay, we obviously don't know what the exact plan will be whenever Donald Trump does win. If he does win in November, we'll have to wait and see what his actual plan will be. But I'm sure it'll be somewhere along the lines of what we're seeing here. I think many people are speculating and trying to figure out what that might be. But I'm sure a big part of it will probably be to tell Ukraine to give up the land that they've already lost, that they obviously will not be able to take it back, at least not anytime soon. This war could probably drag on for a very long time before that ever happens. And then also at the same time, Russia needs to come to the negotiating table, and if they refuse to, then it would make sense that they would back Ukraine fully and try to help them defeat the Russian military. So let me know what you think down below. This is obviously some very big news regarding Donald Trump, so share your thoughts, concerns, and opinions down in the comments section. That's going to be it for this update. If you got something out of this, please smash that like button. Also, if you enjoy my content, please consider subscribing down below. Hit the notification bell, that way YouTube can notify you. And with that, I hope you all have a great day. Everybody take care and God bless, and we'll see you in the next one.